V'zeh ikar Chaim arukim. This is what it means, a long life. B'chinas ha-Torah, shenikres Chaim. It's the Torah that's called Chaim. Kishemaschilim b'chol pam mechadash. When you start fresh again and again. And I can't think of a better personification of this than a tzaddik whose name is Chaim. And a tzaddik whose name was Moira on the Torah that's Nikra Chaim, that he contained within himself from a young age, but who never stopped starting Bechol Pamei Chadash. That every year, and all of us would read about it and we'd hear about it, Erev Pesach, which this year, incredibly, because it was an Iber, because there's one extra month, was completed Erev Purim, one day before Reb Chaim was nostalgic from the world. And we'd understand here's a person who was just Messiah Kol HaTorah Kula. And this has been going on for decades upon decades, but the next day, he took a break. He popped open a bag of Doritos, he put his feet up, he said, I've done this a couple of times before. Bechinas HaTorah shenikres Chaim kishemaschilim bechol pam mechadash. Rav Chaim started fresh. And Rav Chaim knew what he knew. I can't even be masig what he knew. I was trying to speak to my father yesterday, explaining how are we magdir the difference between a big Talmud Chacham and a Rav Chaim? How do we even magdir? There are other people who learned Kol HaTorah Kula. We don't even have the terminology to describe the difference. All he was, every part of his brain was Toicha Rotzav Torah. That's all there was. We can't be masig it. We can't be masig it, what Rav Chaim was. Kol kulay Torah. And yet each and every year Rav Chaim is starting mechadash, because that's what it means to be Chaim. That's what it means to be alive. That's what it means to be one with the Torah. Doesn't just mean to learn the Torah, Kol HaTorah Kula. It means to be a person that's connected to renewal in our own unique way, so that we can be a little bit Chaim in our own lives, and that we could become Torah-dik in our own lives, to start fresh like the Torah was given Hayom. Every single day the Torah is given fresh. Chazal say like the day it was given by Har Sinai. B'chol yom yibeinecha kechadashim. And Rav Chaim is going midarga ladarga every year, deeper and deeper and deeper and more exalted. But never, ever, ever in a way of zikna. Rav Chaim's sense of humor, Rav Chaim's smile, Rav Chaim's love for each and every yid. I don't know of another gadol in this time, or even bechlal in our generation, outside of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who was mamish a Am Yisrael Gadol, who you found in the stairs lining up to 23 Rechov Rashbam. Every kind of Yid who felt that Rav Chaim was theirs and they were right. Why is that so? That Rav Chaim was able to be Mechaya people? Because he was filled with renewal. Because Kol Zman that Rav Chaim was in the world was filled with a spirit of renewal. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mechadesh betuva b'chol yom tov and ma'aseh bereishis. Hashem is mechadesh the whole world every split second. And Hashem created the world with the Torah. Says Rav Tzaddik HaKohen, the renewal of the world is chidushay Torah. Every split second there's new Torah in the world. And that was what Rav Chaim was. And so every Yid, no matter who you were, and no matter what your smatziv was, you went to that place and you left feeling filled with hope. It was a tiny apartment. There was enough room for all of Am Yisrael. I was by the Levaya yesterday. We'll go a couple of minutes overtime. I hope you'll be moichel and feel no pressure to stay. I was zeicha to be by that Levaya. Hundreds of thousands of people. You turned around everywhere you looked. A sea of Jews. Men and women. A sea of Jews. And I said to the person standing next to me, it was my brother-in-law, came, it's very likely that every single one of these close to 1 million people, certainly all those that were tuning in on live stream from all around the world, it is likely that each and every person at this Levaya shook Rav Chaim's hand. That's a crazy thing. That's a crazy thing. Well over 1 million people, maybe even much more, I don't know the numbers or if anybody has statistics, flowed through that apartment and flowed out on the other side, feeling a tefach above the ground with a feeling that we can also start fresh. Because of Rav Chaim Kaniefsky, who's filled with the Torah, with the spirit of Chaim, imbues that sense of life within everybody he comes into contact with. All of Am Yisrael is rooted in the oisius of the Torah. Rav Chaim was a baki not just in the Torah, but Rav Chaim was a baki in Klal Yisrael, who are rooted in the Torah that he had mastered. Rav Chaim was a baki in Yidden. Maybe he didn't have information about, I don't know what information he had, what information he didn't have, and what Darg of Ruach HaKodesh he had, and not getting into politics and things and other nekudas that are completely peripheral and a distraction. That's so big of a distraction, it's a joke when held up to the light of what this person essentially was. If you have a little bit of tmimus in you, you look past it, and you see a person who was a baki in the Jewish soul, who was a baki in the collective Jewish spirit, and understood that a smile breaks boundaries, and understood that allowing Jews to come and kiss his hand and kiss his head, and made himself mamish public property for all of Am Yisrael with great mesiras nefesh. That's a person who's a baki in Am Yisrael, because he's a baki in the Torah, because he's a baki in Chaim, and because Chaim is founded on renewal. And such a person lives a Chaim Aruchim. And that's something that each and every one of us could take for our own avodah. Not to imitate, not to feel discouraged by our own little efforts when held up to the light of what this giant was. But adarabah, to become encouraged by this that the Yaris Dvash says, that when a tzaddik leaves the world, all of his things they're up for grabs. They're floating around in the world, and they're up to us to grab hold of them. And this is something that all of us can grab hold of. And there's so much more. The hasmada and the channeling of one's talents in a way of kedusha, and an ability to live one tefach above the ground, and lo ma'anyenoto, what the name of his street is, and what he even ate for lunch, that he had to ask what he ate so that he knew what bracha achrona to make. I mean, unbelievable things. All of us could taste a little bit of that, but if there's one thing that all of us could take, it's the spirit, A, of tmimus, and B, of renewal, his chadshus, in our own avodah and in our own yeridas, to be able to find a foothold, to be able to connect to the shoirish of Torah, which is chidushay Torah, which is freshness, which is a Kadosh Baruch Hu that amidst all of the Hester is calling us to serve him, because he loves us and he wants us, and all he wants is for us to be us in a way of freshness, in a way of simplicity, and in a way of tremendous, tremendous renewal and youth. And so I bless us all with the help of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that we should be wise, like Rav Gershon Edelstein said by the Levaya, we should be wise not to waste this opportunity, not to become dejected. On the contrary, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is making tikkunim for us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like I wrote a little bit in the article, is trying to gather us together and encourage us to be bigger, broader, in a million different ways, whether it's Corona or the Ukraine war or the loss of tzaddikim. It's all one nekuda. Hashem is trying to shake us out of the sophisticated sense that reality is stable and that the facts are the facts. The facts are never the facts. The only fact there is the youthful spirit of trying to be a little bit better and make the world a little bit better. All with a smile, all with ni'imas, all with simchas hachayim. And I bless us, mamish, not to waste this opportunity, but to grab hold of it and to allow the Spirit to fill our lives. Chas v'shalom, not to become dejected. On the contrary, to march forward and to go ahead and to fill His shoes collectively as a nation, because that's what it's going to take for all of us to try to add on, certainly in our learning and certainly in our davening and in our own avodas, but all not just quantitatively, qualitatively, with the spirit of sweetness, with a spirit of pshitas, of emunah pshuta, and of confidence in our own avodas, because we know that we're doing it for the kavod of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and for no other reason. And like Rabbi Nachman said, va'azai bevadai lo yikasha la'olam. I bless that upon you, I bless it upon me. And Be'ezer Hashem, we should only hear Besuras Taivas. Let's not let go of Purim. This is all Purim. This is all Mamish Mordechai. This is all the Vada'os, that's the opposite of Suffolk. We should move into our preparations for Pesach with great joy and with great certainty that Be'ezer Hashem Chayiv Kol Adam Liris Es Atzmi Ki'ilu Hu Yatzim Mitzrayim. This should be the year that all of us break out of our personal Meitzarim, that Am Yisrael gets out of its Meitzar, and that we should be able to see all of us together with great joy and renewal, the coming of Mashiach b'meher b'yameinu. Amen va'amen. B'siyata d'shmaya.